Hi guys, Jay Walker here, and I'm in the Ford Territory Titanium. Now, the last time we drove this car, we got to drive it around EDSA, but that was only for a couple of rounds. This time, we'll actually get to borrow it for a couple of days. Since I want to give you guys the most thorough test that I can do in the 4 days allotted to me, we're gonna go on a road trip to Tagaytay. We know what this is like on paper. It is very impressive, but let's see what it's actually like to live with. So, is it worth your money? Let's actually find out. First off, before we go on our road trip, let's talk about the exterior again. You know how some cars look good in the dealership, but don't look as good when you take it outside? The Ford Territory isn't one of those cars. It looks gorgeous, whether under fluorescent lighting or under direct sunlight. These two character lines look very striking when you see the Territory from the side. In photography, there's such a term as directional lines. Horizontal lines, for example, give a piece a sense of calmness. Diagonal lines give a piece a sense of movement. Even when standing still, the Territory looks like it's moving. The lines connect the front and rear fender bulges. The fender bulges are massive and they give the Territory a more muscular look. It really is a good balance of macho and elegant. The Ford Territory isn't really a big crossover. Seeing the Territory and the Coolray next to each other, you'd swear they're the same size. But the Territory is a lot wider, and you can definitely feel a difference on the inside. The interior also looks just as nice under natural lighting. This is easily one of the best looking interiors in this class. Ford could have priced this at 1.6 million and it still would look too good for the price. Anyway, we've talked about the exterior and the interior enough times already, so let's go on that road trip. Okay, so I'm joined on this trip by my girlfriend and also camera person. Her name is Bethel. Please no negative comments about Bethel because they will be deleted. We don't want her to get offended. Trust me, guys. Anyway, from Quezon City to Tagaytay, it's about a 2.5 hour road trip. We did encounter some traffic in Metro Manila, as expected. In moderate traffic, I got about 9 to 10 kpl, and that's with very light throttle application. Once we got to NLEX, I got about 15 kpl, and also I used adaptive cruise control for most of the trip, and I'll talk about that in more detail later because I think it's one of the best features of the Ford Territory. Okay, so here it is, guys, the final destination. It's the Starbucks with the best view here in the Philippines. or so they say. Anyway, I haven't visited every Starbucks in the country, but I'd say the view is spectacular. If you think there's a Starbucks with a better view in the Philippines, do type it in the comments below. Anyway, we just had a cup of coffee and a couple of snacks, took photos, and then we left again because during the time that we were filming this, there was a typhoon coming. Anyway, let's proceed with the road trip. Traffic was a lot worse on the way back. It was stop and go along NLEX. In very heavy traffic, I got about 7 kpl. I had adaptive cruise control enabled, and surprisingly, it doesn't just work on highway speeds, it also works in stop and go traffic. It was more than 5 hours going to Tagaytay and back, and I would say that it is a very reliable system. It made the trip a lot less tiring. I was a lot less tired than I would normally be when I got home, and that's mostly because of the adaptive cruise and also partly because of the seats. The seats are quite comfortable and they have plenty of adjustments, so you can adjust it exactly to your liking. I especially appreciated the adjustable lumbar support. NVH levels are pretty good, whether you're crawling through EDSA or doing 100 kph on SLEX. By the way, the Territory isn't really a very fast crossover, especially if you compare it to the Geely Coolray. 0 to 100 is about 12 seconds or more. From the engine to the suspension, it really is more tuned for comfort than for performance. The ride quality is very good, especially for a vehicle with low profile tires. While it's not fast, I don't think it's very slow either. I think for most people it is fast enough. So after spending about 2 days with the Ford Territory, here's what I like about it. Number one, I like this armrest. It doesn't just support your elbow, it supports your entire forearm, including your hand. And I like the placement of the window controls. It's right next to the steering wheel. I like the wireless charger. Now, plugging in the cable may seem like a trivial task, but if you're driving and you don't want to be distracted, it is a lot easier to just put your phone here and it will just automatically charge. By the way, if you're going to use this wireless charger, you need to have a casing that doesn't have any metal in it. Another thing that I like is Android Auto and also Apple CarPlay. So you don't have to use your phone anymore to use Waze or to access your apps. You don't need to have a cell phone holder here. I like this armrest. Number one, it's very spacious. Number two, it opens this way. So let's say if you have a passenger here, you don't have to ask her to get her elbow off the armrest. By the way, the Territory has ventilated seats. It has seat cooling and it has a seat warmer. If the car has been sitting under the sun for a while, this seat cooling will definitely help. Some people say that you don't need seat heaters here in the Philippines, but on a rainy day like this, I find that it makes the interior a bit more cozy. Now, I consider myself to be a proficient driver, but when we were in Starbucks Tagaytay, the parking spot there was pretty tight and pretty awkward, and I found myself relying on this quite a bit. The resolution is very good. As you can see. Now, I can't really say that I like this yet because I don't sit at the second row, and practically nobody sits at the second row of my cars. But if you're a family man, I think you can definitely appreciate this. The Territory has the most spacious second row in its class. As you can see, I can't even reach the front seat with my finger. I can lounge here, and I'd still have plenty of knee room and leg room. And I also get two aircon vents here and one USB port. I like the panoramic sunroof. It makes the interior look more spacious. It makes you feel less claustrophobic here. And also, unlike other crossovers with panoramic sunroofs like the Coolray and the Suzuki Vitara, the cover of the sunroof of the Territory is opaque. It doesn't let light through. As you can see, it's very sunny outside, but the cover is completely blocking off all of the light. By the way, I'm not responsible for this Ford. It was like that when I got this car. Okay, so I think the weakest part of the Territory is its lack of physical buttons or knobs for the aircon. You only have an on and off button here, an automatic button here, and also this is for ventilation, and that's it. You can't control the fan speed or the temperature without having to close what you're looking at. For example, you're using Waze, you have to go back to the main menu, and that's the only time that you can adjust the fan speed. But it's not a deal breaker. I haven't not bought a car because I didn't like the aircon controls. It is a minor inconvenience, but I think it's something that I can live with. I think the most impressive feature of the Territory is its adaptive cruise control. Now, I knew that it was going to be useful on the highway, but I was quite surprised that it was also quite useful in stop-and-go traffic. It's actually possible to drive from point A to point B without having to step on the brakes in between. So you first activate adaptive cruise by pushing down on the cruise control stalk. So when it's activated, it will automatically speed up and slow down depending on the speed of traffic ahead of you. Unlike other systems though, it will also work at much slower speeds and even in stop-and-go traffic. If the car in front of you comes to a complete stop, the system will apply the brakes and you will come to a complete stop as well. As long as you don't stay stopped for more than 3 seconds, the system will remain activated and the car will move again when the car in front of you moves. If you do stay stopped for more than 3 seconds, all you need to do is lightly tap on the gas pedal and it will resume again. If you step on the brakes, it will deactivate, in which case you'll just have to push the stalk down again. It is a very intuitive system, but it was quite unnerving at first. The first few minutes of driving, I wasn't even sure if it was working because I was always intervening. But when I got the hang of it, I knew when it would apply the brakes. I didn't get startled anymore. During the 5-hour trip to Tagaytay and back, I had it activated most of the time. And I would say that it's a very reliable system. It detects cars, motorcycles, and even bicycles. So it's practically autopilot. Of course, you shouldn't trust a system like this entirely, and you should always be ready to resume control. My foot was always near the brake pedal if ever I would need to intervene. Not only does it make the driving experience a lot less tiring, but it also makes the Territory a lot safer. That is, if you use it properly. If you use it as an excuse to pay less attention to the road, then it'll probably have the opposite effect. Even if you don't have adaptive cruise enabled, the Territory has a pre-collision system. It first gives you an audible warning, and if you don't apply the brakes, it will apply the brakes automatically for you. The difference between braking during adaptive cruise and automatic emergency braking is that braking during adaptive cruise is more gradual, it is like regular braking. While automatic emergency braking is designed to stop the car immediately, so it happens much later if you don't apply the brakes, and it's also more abrupt. It says searching. Parking slot found. We're gonna put it in reverse, like so. And then, okay, I'm not doing anything, just stepping on the brakes. This is a little unnerving. I'm gonna trust the technology, and if I hit something, then it's not gonna be my fault, right? Ford? That is amazing. The Ford Territory's coolest feature is probably the one that I need the least. Auto park is a neat party trick, but I can park the car on my own, and unless this is your first car, you probably can as well. But I'm still glad that it's there, simply because it's such a cool and high-tech party trick that I can impress people with. That is amazing. Sadly, my time with the Ford Territory fell on typhoon season, so I wasn't able to do some video ideas that I had. Anyway, I didn't think that the Ford Territory could impress me any more than it already had, but I'm even more impressed now. I think it's not just one of the best crossovers in this price bracket, it is one of the best vehicles of any type without going over 2 million. So you asked me a couple of questions about the Territory in my community post, so I'll try to answer some of them. This one is from FMFM. Which one do you prefer, Geely Coolray or Ford Territory? I've tried avoiding this question for a long time because I really wasn't sure. I like the engine power of the Coolray, but I think I'll have to go with the Territory. I was sold by the adaptive cruise. It's a lot more useful than I thought it would be. And also, I'm not really into brands, but the Territory and the Coolray are priced about the same, and Ford has more dealerships in the country, so that plays a part in my decision. From John Ray Cabrera, he has 5 questions. How is the fuel economy compared to other sedans? This is a bigger and heavier vehicle, so as expected, it is less fuel efficient. Is it matagtag? No, it's not matagtag. Torque is okay, but since it has a CVT, you don't get that sudden burst of acceleration that you get from a normal automatic. It's very gradual, so if you're not used to it, you might think that you have less power. How's the overall craftsmanship? I think this has the best interior in its class. In terms of materials, in terms of fitment, and if this is what it means to be Chinese made, then we might have to redefine some terms. From Bri G, pwede ba i-convert sa 7-seater? No, there isn't really much space behind the second row seats. Masikip na siya, so even if you put improvised third row seats there, hindi rin kakasya ang adults or even larger kids. From General Tan, fuel economy and 0 to 100. Fuel economy, I got about 7 kpl in very heavy traffic. I got about 8.5 to 10 kpl in moderate traffic. And I got about 15 kpl on the highway. From Motorista Adventures, now sir, I'm not sure what that means, pero hello, Adrian of Motorista Adventures. Actual fuel consumption, I've answered that already, from Frederick Santa Ana. From Gus Billy, Jay, I am from the Caribbean and I follow your reviews. Thank you, Gus Billy, for following my reviews. So which would I choose, the Tigo 8, the Coolray, or the Territory? I think the Tigo 8 and the Territory are very different vehicles in that the Tigo 8 is a 7-seater. Now I got to test drive both vehicles for a couple of days, and they're both amazing vehicles. The Tigo 8 is a 7-seater, so if you need a 7-seater you can scratch the Territory off your list. But if you don't need a 7-seater, I think the Territory offers more features. This one's from Jen. Thank you, Jen. I hope you're enjoying your Territory, and I hope you have no regrets over your decision. Anyway, so that's the end of the video. Please click on like and subscribe, and I'll see you on my next video.